All right, I think we've got those that we're going to have here this morning. Good Monday morning, everybody. It is a pleasure to welcome everybody. And actually, it's kind of interesting that I wish we could be kind of doing this in person, but the fact this is an online digitization effort and a launch, it's not a bad thing. It's on Zoom to show you what we've got online. This has been a project that has been several years in the making, and we're very excited. I know we're kind of excited. We're also want to make sure the website works okay as well. So Mike and Margaret and our team have been working very hard the last couple of weeks to make sure this is ready for today. We have members of county council on here, we have local media, and we've got municipal staff and a lot of other interested stakeholders. I see a lot of history lovers' faces here this morning and names as well, which is great to see. So I just thought we'd start this morning by thanking not only SD&G County Council, but providing the warden, Frank Prevost, with an opportunity to say a few words. Frank, I'll just unmute you there. I believe you should have got the request. And just to bring greetings on behalf of council this morning.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here this morning on behalf of County Council and the staff and all the residents of SD&G. And I wanted to thank Eric for taking the lead in regards to getting the archives put online and all the volunteers that were involved to putting all this together. I mean, there was over 210,000 newspaper pages, I guess, in regards to putting on the archives. So that's certainly a lot of work to put forward, and he's done all that in the last couple of years. So that's a great achievement on behalf of all of you, and over 2,000, I guess, photos from the Lost Villages. So that's certainly an accomplishment to each and every one of you. So on behalf of the counties of SD&G and all the residents of SD&G, we want to say thank you, and we look forward to seeing everything online. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And I'll just start off in my welcome as well to say that, again, as I mentioned, this has been years in the making, and there's a few people that I just want to thank for their effort. Obviously, SD&G County Council, and I'll mention that in the brief slide deck that I've got, but our local archives. I want to thank Alan McDonald from the Glengarry County Archives for his leadership. And I should also give kudos to North Glengarry and South Glengarry municipalities. They had done the original batch of digitizing several newspapers of the Glengarry News, and they have those on their website with the Glengarry County Archives and are working with the Glengarry News on that. We've been able to add much more that'll be on both of our collections, but Alan's been a wonderful resource and mentor for those of us that try to consider ourselves somewhat history buffs or preserving our local history. Susan Peters, my friend and from the Dundas County Archives, for her work. Alan and Susan, between the two of them, so it's not just as simple as giving the newspaper page and scanning it. I mean, there are some that are in very good condition, but there are many that are have not been in good condition. And Alan had given the statistic, and I think Susan has matched that and is likely exceeding that. Alan used 2 miles of archival tape to give you an idea, 2 miles long, just to tape together some editions of the Glengarry News. And Susan figures she's around that length now too, in terms of the thousands of pieces of archival tape it's taken and these puzzles we've had to put together in some cases as well. So I want to thank Susan for her work in Iroquois, the Dundas County Archives, and that work continues. And then Jim Burnell is on here this morning, and I see Jeanette Guy from the Lost Villages Historical Society. We're not just proud to have 200,000 pages of newspapers, but we also wanted to make sure we preserve the photos of one of the most significant events in our community's history, and that being the Lost Villages project and the history that's around there. So Jim and Jeanette have organized several of the Lost Villages collections. There's even more to come, but they've been working nonstop, not just helping us get these uploaded, but particularly with the Lost Villages section is detailing. When you see a photo of them putting names and addresses and information on those as well. So for those who are searching the Lost Villages photo collection, there's whatever details they have, they'll be working on uploading that for people who are reviewing that as well. The other thank you I want to give this morning is a big thank you to the newspaper companies that we work with. For several years, there were a lot of people that said this couldn't be done. Companies maybe weren't interested. They didn't want to share the collections. There was 10 reasons why we couldn't do this, the size and all these different things, the size of the collections, the amount that needed to get done. But from the Morseburg Leader, the Glengarry News, the Chesterville Record, and then formerly Winchester Press, the Iroquois Chieftain, and numerous other ones, we had really good support support from those that were involved to make this project happen. And without their support and encouragement and logistics help, it wouldn't have been possible. So a special thank you to those families, the ownership families of those involved. It is much, much appreciated. And then I'll also note this morning that I see some of my colleagues from Cornwall on here as well. See Rick Shaver on camera here. Rick is working with me and another group in the city of Cornwall. So this project continues to grow in our region by digitizing the Standard Freeholder, the Seaway News, La Journal, and other papers that have an historical context based out of the city of Cornwall. So look forward to continuing the work. So I'm just going to do a quick screen share here now to go through. If I can get a thumbs up from somebody that they can see the screen there. Okay, perfect. Is just to go through the history of our project and where we're at. See if this is going to work here. There we go. So again, as you mentioned, we did a presentation to County Council in 2019. I had finished up as mayor, and I think I was at the County Council table 2 months later, so I wasn't gone for long. I was at the delegation spot asking for money, go figure. But we were able to get the partnership with the various people I've mentioned here this morning, and I will say very grateful for County Council, the overwhelming support to get this done, and their patience as well. Nobody was anticipating COVID, but to be able to do all this stuff, particularly in the last year, has been quite impressive. But County Council has provided funding over the course of the last 2 years, totaling just over $181,000 to get the newspaper collections done. We're the glass half full is that we've got 200 and some thousand pages, maybe not a half empty, but the glass continues to be filled. As I know, Alan in Glengarry County has sent me a list of newspapers that have been donated to the archives there. We have several of the Morseburg leaders still to tape together and to do on the Dundas side of things, but there are still a few tens of thousands of pages to be done. But we wanted to get this launched and get it going, and County Council and municipal staff there at the counties have been alongside us every step of the way, which is greatly appreciated. So just to give you an idea here, here's the list of collections of what you will find online to date. There's still more to come on here, but from the Glengarry News and the Chester Record, the Morseburg Leader that are still in circulation, we still have several. I didn't even know of some of these publications until we started this project. And the papers, they date back, I believe Susan had one from 1865. So telling you how far they go back and the wide variety of the Iroquois chieftains, the Matilda Advocates, the Dundas County Advisors, and you could tell how old some of these papers are. Bottom right-hand corner, Williamsburg Times and Morseburg Banner, they were both spelled with an H back then. So that tells you how far and how long ago we go back with those. I just want to tell a quick story here, and I may have done this already at different presentations, just to make sure how aware people are of the dedication people have to preserving these newspapers, particularly the Iroquois chieftain. And Sandra Lee Johnson and her husband, Roger. Sandra was a longtime reporter at the Iroquois Chieftain, and I got to know her back in the days when I was volunteering, and she was a reporter. And the Iroquois Chieftain was sold to the Kemptville Advance, and the office was being moved up there. And what they needed to do in the Iroquois Plaza was to clear out their offices. And so one night, Roger just happened to be going over to the plaza to grab some milk, and he noticed a dumpster was pulled in behind the Iroquois Chieftain office, and somebody was there just taking the newspapers and throwing them all into the dumpster to be thrown out. Roger drove home quickly. He and Sandra came back and grabbed as many garbage bags as they could at the home. They literally jumped in the dumpster that night and pulled out hundreds and hundreds of Iroquois chieftains. They are now digitized, they are now searchable, and they're now saved forever and a day. We're looking at decades worth of Iroquois chieftains that are preserved. I say to Roger and Sandra because of their dumpster diving, but it was certainly, I don't encourage that too often, but that is certainly a case where it was a wonderful outcome in what they had done. As we mentioned, 210,566 pages, and you'll see here as well the breakdown. We were able to do 83,000 pages in 2020, and then we have the significant majority in 2021, 126,000 pages that were done. And you can see from there the various papers and how many pages were done. Some of the smaller ones, again, Morseburg Courier, only 9 pages, but then you get into the Chesterville Record between the 2 years, you're looking at over 45,000 pages that are there. Glengarry News, we had done 50,000 pages there. And again, to mention that the Glengarry News themselves and Dundas, or the Glengarry County Archives rather, in Allen, they have all the pre-1961 collections. So we are looking at a very serious, major preservation of our local history. So with that, without further ado, we haven't put the website on live yet because Mike and Margaret were saying that we don't want it to crash from volume while we're showing you how this works. So I'm going to pass it over to Mike St. Owen from the counties, Margaret Piper from the SD&G Libraries, who've been fantastic colleagues to work with, to show you what the website looks like, and most importantly, give you a tutorial on how to search things. Mike and Margaret.
Hey everyone, so shall I start, Mike?
Go ahead, yes, please.
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to tell you about is in the top left corner, we've got a little bit of a getting started page. So you can see this is just like the home page. We've got a little welcome message, a slide deck. But over at the top left is where you want to go right when you begin. So let's click there. So there's a short video we'll watch in 1 second. But before we do that, Mike, if you could just scroll down and show we've got 3 different buttons. So basic search, advanced search, and browsing. So they're each collapsible. When you click on them, it's going to open up and it's going to show a detailed explanation of how to use the site with lots of screenshots to help you use it. So it is a little bit different than just using Google. So that's why we've got the instructions here for you. So I think with that, we can go ahead and play the video and you can hear more of the dulcet tones of my voice.
Hi everyone, welcome to the SDG newspaper and photo digitization project page. This is a quick video to introduce you to the basics for using this site. If you want more information and instructions, you can find it here in the How to Use This Site link. So here on the homepage, we have a little introduction about the site. On the left is a list of all the different newspapers we have available, as well as the Lost Villages Historical Society, which is a collection of photographs. You can also click all items as an option if you want to browse that way. If you're looking for something specific, the quickest way to get started is to use the search bar at the top. If I search for Mille Roches, which is one of the Lost Villages, you can see that on the left, both newspapers and the Lost Villages photos will pop up. I could browse all of the results, but I'm going to try narrowing it down, so I'll click on Winchester Press. Let's say that I want to look at the oldest edition in the results, so I'd sort by start date and ascending, and there it is. When I click on the thumbnail, I can see the first page of the paper and a few details below. I have to click again to open up the PDF. Let's say at this point in my research, I want to find the specific keyword I was looking for instead of having to go through all the different pages here. So then I would hit Control F. I've already entered in my term, so it popped up automatically, and there it is, there's the article. So we'll leave it there, but if you want more tips on using the site, please do check out those instructions on our homepage. Thanks for stopping by and have a great day.
All right, thank you, Margaret.
Thanks.
Awesome. So, and this is one thing we've had to learn here too. For those that have experience in archival, it is important how you search and using those differences between basic and advanced. And it's been interesting. Mike has given me kind of the preview. This website is not launched live until we're done the seminar here this morning and the launch this morning. But I've been going in the backbone and looking up some certain things and having to make sure when you're searching for an example, if I were to search Eric Duncan, you wouldn't necessarily just want to have that. You'd want to have Eric and Duncan or different things along those lines that way. And I got thinking of a few things we can do this morning. And I want to give an example here with Mike. We have a couple just to give you an idea with our municipal crowd here. I'll use as an example, I'll put my mayor hat back on and look at and think of the Hallville Park up in North Dundas. They just received some positive news of getting some infrastructure funding to develop a new park in Hallville. But the conversation of that's been going on since about about 1998. So if you look here, what we're doing in the search, we could search the words Hallville and Park. And I said to Mike, let's start from January 1st, 1998, when the idea of a new park in Hallville came. And Mike, let's even just put today's date on it here for now, for the sake of what's working here. So what we can do through the publications is search the date range from 1998 to today's date. All the newspapers have the word Hallville and Park in it. Comes up, and a lot of Winchester Press focuses on them. So as you can go through, you can organize them in the top there as Mike is going along by start date, by title, by a wide variety here. So we can actually go back, and you can see it starts back in January 7th, 1998, and every newspaper that has Hallville and Park mentioned in it can come up. This is important because if, for example, if you're a counselor, a member of council, if you're a staff member that has to go and research the history of a project, you don't have time to go out and look through dozens and dozens of newspapers. This makes your work a lot more accessible. I think of things if you're looking for a particular road, if you're looking for a municipal drain and issues that council had in the past, minutes are important, but minutes of a meeting don't often tell you a lot. Our newspapers are valuable because they have been reporters at your council meetings. So as you want to go back and look at whatever it may be in your municipal realm, that's just a great example of what we can do there. The other one for fun this morning we wanted to try was Mike looked up our warden. Let's take a look here and see what we can find about the warden. Hopefully nothing comes up in the police blotter here, Frank, but we'll see what we can get here. But we thought we'd go back here and to give you the example of looking up Frank in warden. And we're going to go back and look, the first time Frank was warden was back in the year 2000. So we could look at a date range of around October 1st, 1999, when the kind of the informal casual election would take place, and the end of December when the swearing in would have been. So we could take a search there and instantly comes up 2 editions of the Glengarry News. And we click on the 29th there, and you can open it up, the Glengarry News here, and you can see we're just downloading it up here. And on the front page of the Glengarry News, December 29th, 1999, right on the front page, new warden, and there's the article continued on page 2. So in a matter of seconds, just by searching this and doing the date range, we're searching over 200,000 pages and finding articles just like that. So it's going to be, I think, very well subscribed in the public. I've gone through, we were looking this morning, but like my birth notice, for example, back from November 1987, there's a lot of things you could look at from your family history, your community history of municipal interest. Family research, I think, is going to be, like I said, a big thing that way. So we are very excited about this project and the opportunity. The website will go live moments after we wrap this up, now that we know the website didn't crash, and we're all very happy about that and how it worked. But it's archive.sdgcounties.ca. Todd Lyhu from the counties will be sending out a news release not only to our media partners, but to county council and the partners that received the invitation for this today. And it does have the website on there as well for you to click on. So I would guess by about 10 o'clock this morning at the latest, you'll be able to go on and start clicking away and searching away on all of that. So with that, I think that kind of gives us our official launch. We'll be online in a few minutes that way, but this is an opportunity to celebrate hundreds of hours of work from our local partners. And we also, as we close, have to give credit to Image Advantage out of Mallorytown. They were the company, a top-notch professional company that worked to digitize our collection. They were wonderful. They've made several trips back and forth to Glengarry, to the Lost Villages, into Iroquois, and have helped make this a reality. So with that, I know there's several of our media colleagues that are on the line. Everybody, if you're welcome, this is kind of the informal wrap up here, but if any media have any questions and wanted to stay online, or people had questions, you're more than welcome to, and just do your raise the hand feature or in the chat box, and we're happy to get any questions. So if you have to take off, thank you very much. And for those that want to stay for a Q&A, you're more than welcome to. We'll give it about a minute for those that want to log off, and then we'll get into questions. Have a great week, everybody. All right, we've got a few that are interested in staying around, and I see some of our media partners, which is great here. So for anybody that has questions, particularly our media, will start off. Just use your raise the hand feature or put it into the chat, whichever you prefer. We can unmute you from there. To raise your hand, I believe it's under maybe under reactions, I believe, and on the bottom there, and you should be able to click the raise your hand feature. Phil Blanchard, I'll just hit your ask to unmute there, and go ahead, Phil.
Hi, Eric. Congratulations on the launch. You can hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes.
What's the annual operating cost of this going forward now that the bigger part is done?
I'll let Mike maybe speak to the technicalities of this, but the particular website backbone that we've got is Atom. It's a website where the counties can use their IT and their storage there, the cloud storage, to host all this. So normally, if you were to have all this live hosted on a website, you'd be into thousands of dollars of operating costs per year. But this website, it's a free software that we're able to get, is able to host it on the county software. Mike, did you want to address perhaps how that's stored and how the costs are quite minimal in that regard?
Sure, yeah, happy to. Yeah, as MP Duncan stated, the program we're using is called Access to Memory. It's a free open source product from a company out of BC. And we're hosting this currently on our infrastructure at the county. And the storage and the bandwidth, we expect it's minimal compared to our overall bandwidth and storage requirements of the county. So we do have the capacity right now to run this at no additional cost. So yeah, it's minimal in that sense.
And the biggest thing, Phil, going forward is the for an example with Jim Burnell and Jeanette Guy from the Lost Villages, that's in-kind volunteer hours as they're going through and putting the details on. So we've given some training. Margaret's been working with them and giving them access so they can go in and edit those. Susan and Alan, as mentioned before, Glengarry has the pre-1961s on their county website, and they're working with the news on some other software as well. So a lot of the stuff is going to be in kind within those existing frameworks. The good part about the newspapers is once they're up, they're up. There's not a lot of maintenance that needs to be done on it. And because of the program that we've got, the operating costs are very minimal, if any, just the storage on the county server that's there. So it's quite safe and secure that way. And one of the things we made sure is that this is not going to be a major financial burden. But I will say the ongoing operating costs that I make a pitch to county council is that we've got a final request coming to finish off. Alan McDonald and I were speaking over last week, and I don't know if I have the email open here, but find it under pressure. But Alan had mentioned that there are a few other, here they are, in Glengarry papers that have come forward. The Point from 1980 to 1985, the Alexandria Times from 1927 to 1954 with some gaps, and there was a newspaper in Glengarry County called Counterpoint that had some papers from 1981 to 1984. The one thing that's been very positive about this, we're a victim of our own success, and we appreciate the word how it gets out. We've had a lot of people donate. They may not be full collections. We had one person who was an editor of the Iroquois Chieftain, different than the dumpster diving story, but they donated about a decade's worth of papers. We have other people that say, oh, I've got a year, I've got different papers here and there. So we've been adding to the collection as people are clearing out their homes or finding these things as well. So we're going to have another, hopefully, pot of dollars to continue with some of the ones as we get them in. And I know, speaking to Jim Burnell last week when we had CTV Ottawa out for a story on this, which was great, Jim and Jeanette and the Lost Villages team have several more binders of photos to digitize as well, that just take time to get organized and get written in as well. So the work continues.
Well, and that kind of speaks to my follow-up question, which was, as more things come out of the woodwork and more collections are found in that, this isn't done, so how is that going to continue going forward? Like, it's not going to be a huge project to continually add to it, but it is still going to be some stuff. So I was just wondering how that was going to work, but you've already kind of explained that. So
yep. So there's two things to mention as well. I'm very proud that we have both a Dundas County Archives, a Glengarry County Archives, and grateful that the Lost Villages in Stormont County informally keep a lot of our physical records. And that's a big thing, Phil, too, where not everything, I mean, I'd love to say we could digitize every single thing in the Dundas County Archives in Glengarry, but we would be broke and we would we'd be decades literally getting that all done. So I think what there is the part that I'm most proud about is that we've got spots in each county that can physically preserve and catalog and archive the documents. And then if there are things like that are newspapers that can be searchable and can be helpful in an open public benefit, we'll look at that. So the short term is a safe place to have these things, and then taking a look in the coming years as it goes, either the local municipalities, but the big thing is finishing off the newspapers that continue to come in for the counties. And for myself, the next layer of the project is working with the city of Cornwall and doing the standard freeholders and the Seaway Newses, which are hundreds of thousands or more pages that don't contain just Cornwall news, but to be even more county news out there as well.
And will that be linked to this project or a standalone separate project?
To be determined, but it'll be very similar. It will look very similar in scope to what you see here today. Whether it'll be the same website or not, literally nearly the exact same concept and premise.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Phil. I see Francis had his hand up, I believe. I don't know if his hand is still up.
No, the question I had was answered. Thank you, Eric.
I'll just keep talking and eventually answer your questions here, Francis. I'll see Bill Kingston from Cornwall Newswatch. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Eric, and congratulations on the project. I wanted to get an idea. You said that there's about 210 or almost 211,000 pages now done outside of the city newspapers. What's your estimate? You said glass half full. Do you think there's about another 250,000 pages that's still to digitize to complete the collection?
No, I think my guess, and this is a guesstimate right now, so County Council, plug your ears for the number, but I'm going to guess there's between 35 and 50,000 more pages. We have several of Morseburg Leader. We've been working with them of taking the collection that's at the Leader office, Susan taking them to the archives, getting them all organized into newspaper boxes. We had somebody donate and actually make custom newspaper boxes for us. So getting them all organized, and then several that still need to be taped together. So between the remaining Morseburg Leader collection and then some of the ones that Glengarry has, plus the extra photos that Jim Burnell has, I'm going to guess we're looking at up to 50,000 for the county's collection, perhaps a little bit less even than that. So what our ask will be, I think, when we go back to County Council to finish this off, part of the challenges is COVID as well. Right now, with the restrictions that are in place, Susan's time going into the archives is limited, and I know Alan is working with his different partners as well. We're just going to, I think, ask for a reserve fund. So over the course of the coming years, as we're able to get those two Image Advantage and back, we're looking at that. But we're looking at in the county's system about up to 50,000. But then in the city of Cornwall, we're probably, it would be hard to get a guess, but we're at several 100,000. You think of the Freeholder and how long it's been around as a daily publication for a century. There's going to be a lot of information there as well to do. The one thing, Bill, I'll mention just to give you the challenge that Cornwall will present, that Rick Shaver and the Seaway News, Rick was on earlier on the call here. They have all 40 years of the Seaway News in physical copy pretty well. There's a couple of pages that, a couple editions, I think, in gaps. The standard freeholder, we do not have a large substantive physical copy of it. So there are some, but there's lots of large gaps in them. They're in the Cornwall Community Museum has some, the library has some. There's some different personal collections that are going on. Even last week when I was in Iroquois, Susan's got a couple stacks of standard freeholders from the 1950s, just how they all go and come around. The largest collection of the standard freeholders on microfilm. So we have the additional challenge of not taking a physical paper and scanning it, but taking a microfilm, converting it to a PDF and making it searchable. So there's a couple other steps there, but still between the two, lots more to come.
Okay. And just as a follow-up to the what's still to done. So the 200 and almost 211,000 pages that are on the site now, is everything stopped right now, and do you not add anything, or is there I guess, how do you say, are you going to trickle other newspapers onto the site as you go along, or is there going to be like a batch upload during certain increments? And do you plan to say somewhere on the site, oh, we've uploaded 2 years of the Winchester Press and doing that, indicating somewhere on the site.
Yep, I think what we'll do is it'll likely be in batches. That is the way that it goes. We provide the newspapers to, say, for Image Advantage, and then they get them done. They send the hard drive down to Mike to be uploaded. So they likely will be in batches, and we'll work with Todd and the SD&G County's communications team. That we'll do a news release and we'll do social media posts to say, hey, we just added another 10 years of Morseburg leaders or whatever it may be. Click here. For yourself, guys, in the media game, you know, like I do, we have this announcement today. It'll gain a lot of peak and a lot of traffic, and then after a while people will forget about it or forget that it's here. So it's part of our job as well to be constantly reminding people to say, hey, this is an online resource as well. Nothing like attracting website traffic to say, hey, there's 2 years more papers, there's another 10,000 pages. So for sure it's ongoing in batches, and we have a kind of a communications plan to get that out for sure.
Okay, one last question.
Sure.
And this might be for the archival team or somebody who would like to respond to this. What other than taping the papers, what do you think has been the biggest challenge digitizing a newspaper collection?
I'm going to ask Susan Peters to unmute there. Susan, there you go, Susan.
Well, the biggest challenge is organizing them when they have come to the building. Quite often, I mean, for instance, the 60 years of the Iroquois papers, they came in no sense of order whatsoever. When the Chesterville Record building was about to be demolished, we had all of the papers come to us in one day in no sense of organization. And for probably about 50% of those papers, they did have to be pieced together. And it's not just taped together, it has to be done a certain way to, you're using acid-free materials, but you also have to do it in such a way that it doesn't permanently alter the paper. And that is a very time-consuming process. When you're piecing some of these together, it's like doing puzzles. And the other challenge, in especially the earlier papers, is they didn't put the date on every page. So it's a lot of investigating to try to figure out, does this go after this, or is this connected to the article in front of it? So that there's some challenges there. We still have I have a big box of papers that are just pieces, and I have no idea where they go or even what publication it is, but I am hoping at some point we can figure that out.
If anybody's interested in puzzle solving, please contact Susan. We got some volunteer work for you.
I don't think I ever want to see another puzzle the rest of my life.
So
there you go.
There's not a date on every page, or you're literally getting pieces of papers that
in some cases, yes.
Oh, wow.
I also have some papers that have been damaged by rodents or insects. The damage is very different in each of them. I had some that came to me with bat guano, which is also has to be stabilized before you can actually use it. So it's more than just gathering up newspapers and putting them in order. There's a lot of this other stuff that is very slow but has to be done. And given that most of these papers, this is the only copy that exists anywhere, you have to give it that due consideration.
Great. Thank you very much.
And I've got here Jeanette from the Lost Villages. Bill, just to give you a context, Jeanette, I'm going to ask you to unmute as well, because the photo collection's a little bit different as well than the actual newspapers and how we organize them. So Jeanette, did you have a comment on that?
Yes, I do. Yeah, the newspaper is often you have a date and you have the name of the newspaper. So from the start, it's a little bit more straightforward. We loaded up 20,000 photos from the Lost Villages, and the thing with the photo is it's come as is. So there is no tag to it, no date, no name. It's just a photo. So what we've been doing right now is Jim writes a little bit of narrative about it, and I go in and I attach that narrative to that particular photo, so that when somebody pulls up a photo, it's not just one person. There's actually a description with it and names and things, so that if you're looking for a particular person or house or village, it will all come up with the descriptive. So it's a little bit different work for the photos.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jeanette. And then I just, while we're here, I believe we have Alan from the, he's not on, might have just disconnected there, but Alan as well, I know, again, mentioning some of the challenges there and the ongoing work from the Glengarry perspective. So Phil Blanchard, I believe you had another question.
Yeah, just one more. I've followed this right from the start, from your first presentation at County Council in 2019. You've been pretty passionate about preserving this history. Maybe you could speak a little bit more about why this is such a personal project for you.
For sure. Well, from one, I think when we look at the newspapers, I was very scared. I always go in actually, and when the Winchester Press was open, the Chesterville Record. Actually, where this all started for me, Phil, was back in 2012, 2013, when I was one of the co-chairs for the North Dundas District High School's 50th anniversary reunion. And what we decided to do was go back into every Winchester Press and Chesterville Record and go back through all 50 years of the newspaper and photocopy every page that had to do with the school's newspaper history. We had a couple of, a dozen volunteers do that for months and months on end. And the challenge was the quality of the paper where they were. So at the end of the day, I got thinking, we're one fire away in these buildings from losing all this history, and not just the school's history, municipal politics, sports, church, service clubs, everything you can think of, all in these newspapers. And so, there was talk for years. I know I talked to some people, we should digitize these. Couldn't be done. There was a million reasons. The newspaper companies were kind of hesitant at times, and then there was never really any funding from it. Local councils didn't have the budget for it. There wasn't a place like the archives to store this. So we started to build the momentum over the last couple of years. And I will say, Phil, the support has been amazing from the community, of where just the support for the project, the interest on preserving our history, but then the excitement for people to be able to go online and search this. I just think not only preserving it as one thing, but the simplicity of being able to search this now from your own home by keyword, and you got to know specifically again how to do that, but how quickly from a municipal staff perspective, a research perspective, businesses, everything, how easy, free, and accessible it is, I just think has been huge. So to me, I've been loving what we've been able to do in the counties here, very excited about the opportunity in the city. And then even in the last, since we've been doing this the last year and a half, we've had other communities in other parts of Ontario reach out to us. TVO Ontario did a story on us a few months back. And so now there's other areas that are saying, we want to do the same thing. How did you do it? How did you organize it? So we've preserved a quarter, 210,000 pages to date. When you add the Glengarry, what they've already got done, I think we're over 250,000. And I think there's going to be several more 250,000 of newspapers saved in the city of Cornwall and all across the province of Ontario. So kind of excited the snowball that we've started here, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, I think that covers, looks like the questions there. Of course, we'll say to our media partners or to anybody else that's interested, if you have questions, please reach out through Todd Lyhu in the communications department at the counties, or myself in my office. My staff are getting more and more versed in this as people are dropping bags of newspapers off at my Cornwall constituency office, but it's a good problem to have. This is an exciting day, and this is a big day for our historical community in SD&G. I'm very proud of the partnership we've been able to develop. Very grateful for all the partners, grateful to County Council and all the different volunteer groups. I see, the Lost Villages. I see Ashley Harper here as well. And on the screen from the Historical Society in Chesterville, there's a lot of groups that are going to benefit over the course of the next several years and literally decades to come. So take care, stay well, everybody, and keep in touch and enjoy the searching whenever you get online, likely in the next half hour or so. archive.sdgcounties.ca. Take care and have a great week, everybody. Thank you very much.